Good morning, everyone. It's a pleasure to welcome all of you here. I'm Xuanyu Liu from Nanjing University, and my presentation will introduce our work about IoT security, that is, SniffMislead, non-intrusive privacy protection against wireless packet sniffers in smart homes. So, first, let me talk about the background. Recent work has shown that encrypted wireless traffic of IoT devices can be exploited by packet sniffing attackers to reveal users' privacy-sensitive information. Packets of different IoT devices and their events and commands tend to show different patterns, called packet label signatures, from which a wireless packet sniffer can infer device types, actions, and states without knowing the encryption key. As IoT devices and users become increasingly coupled, it's easy to infer user behaviors. Such side-channel attacks are easy to launch, but difficult to detect. Next, let's move to the threat model. We consider a passive attacker who can remotely control a wireless packet sniffer located within the wireless range of a target smart home to sniff wireless traffic inside the house. Attackers are passive, that is, they sniff quietly and do not proactively inject packets in the target smart home. Moreover, the attacker is not physically close to the home and thus, for instance, cannot see who is entering or leaving the house. Attackers have three main goals. First, they want to infer states of IoT devices. For example, is the window open during night? Second, they want to infer user behaviors and habits inside the target home. For example, when does the user go to bed? Third, they want to infer privacy and security sensitive states of the home overall. For example, has everyone left the house? Although most wireless packets of the smart home devices are encrypted, traffic metadata is still available to attackers. Attackers have access to unencrypted packet headers as well. Via side-channel analysis, attackers can use this data to infer privacy-sensitive information about the target home. We focus on side-channel attacks, so attacks on encryption and communication protocols are out of scope. Countermeasures against information leakage from unencrypted packets are also out of the scope of this work. Many countermeasures against these attacks have been proposed, which we group into two main categories. The first includes traffic shaping and packet padding to reduce the traffic variability among different devices. The second includes packet injection and event spoofing. They add dummy packets or decoy events to make it difficult for an attacker to distinguish which ones are real. Both suffer from many limitations. For example, they require modifications to the IoT devices. Therefore, one may propose a non-intrusive solution, that is, without modifying IoT firmware or underlying communication protocols, by implementing one of the aforementioned countermeasures using a standalone device. However, this intuitive method still faces many challenges. Thus, a comprehensive approach is essential. So, placing logically sound pattern users, therefore, is a feasible and much needed choice. We propose the notion of pattern users, people who do not exist in the physical world but from the perspective of an attacker, live in a smart home and act as real users would. and we propose a novel and effective defenses called SniffMislead against the wireless packet sniffers. It places multiple pattern users in a smart home, which can effectively prevent attackers from making reliable inferences about the device states or behaviors of real users. We clarify that SniffMislead is not to prevent attackers from inferring information, since real wireless traffic can still be sniffed by attackers. Instead, due to the added pattern users, many resulting fake events are injected. As a result, the attacker has very no confidence whether it's real or fake. To sum up, SniffMislead is a non-intrusive solution that does not require any modifications to the smart home using a standalone device. It's an automatic wireless packet injection and event spoofing tool. It uses a top-down approach to place pattern users in a home. It learns required information on its own by analyzing encrypted wireless traffic of the target smart home to generate policies. SniffMislead injects packets only based on the target home's traffic pattern and can handle multiple network protocols by including different packet sniffers and transmitters. Let's move to the workflow of SniffMislead. SniffMislead has two main modules, Smart Home Learning Module and User Privacy Protection Module. Smart Home Learning Module learns required information from the target smart home to prepare for policy generation. It consists of the following four steps. First, connecting wireless network traffic. Second, extracting packet-level signatures of device events. Third, extracting device event-level features of user behaviors. And the last, obtaining logical associations among behaviors and real users' daily routines. User Privacy Protection Module generates policies based on information learned from the Smart Home Learning Module and decides on how to use a top-down approach to simulate pattern users. Behaviors from pattern users are generated every day, based on logical associations among behaviors and real users' daily routines. Then, for each behavior of a pattern user, the corresponding device event sequence is generated based on the device event level features of this behavior. Finally, based on packet level signatures of device events, decoy packets corresponding to the device event sequence are created. Next, let's discuss on how SniffMislead learns required information from the target smart home. There are correlations between IoT devices in the smart home in the form of co-present or temporarily related device events attributed to three channels. SniffMislead learns these correlations from network messages of the target smart home and extract the network level and the device level features, which are used for injecting packets of decoy device events. The first step is to form a training set by collecting related wireless packets from smart home network traffic. Unique and unencrypted network identifier from the packet header can be used to identify devices and group packets. IoT devices usually have unique network patterns, summarized as packet level signatures. So the next step is to establish a one-to-one mapping between a device event and its packet level signature. A burst is defined as a sequence of time-ordered network packets from one device where the time interval between any two packets is less than a predetermined threshold. We hope that each burst represents a device event, so we perform experiments on our dataset and find that the appropriate threshold is 1 second. Grouped packets are partitioned into a set of birds. If the packet directions match, Levenstein ratio between these birds is calculated to indicate the level of similarity. It is validated that the average Levenstein ratio is stable for devices events of the same type. Based on our observations, we select 0.8 as the threshold. Birds whose Levenstein ratio is greater than a threshold are grouped together, and then the network pattern of a device event is calculated. A behavior usually triggers specific device events following a feature, denoted as the device event label feature. However, based on our observations, due to the variability in the trigger of device events between different instances of the same behavior, one or a few devices cannot determine a specific behavior. Device events also often get multiplexed from two or more behaviors due to one or multiple users concurrently undertaking many behaviors. To tackle the challenges, SniffMislead first segments the device event stream with the notion that each segment represents a behavior. A device event stream is partitioned into a set of segments based on three factors: time interval among device events, proximity among device events, and the frequency of device events occurrence. The goal of time interval-based segmentation is to separate temporally distinct behaviors. We introduce two types of time intervals: inter-event time intervals and inter-segment time interval. We observe that for most behaviors, inter-segment time intervals are significantly larger than inter-event time intervals. Next is proximity based segmentation. The probability of device events from a labeling behavior being wrongly assigned to a segment is higher than the probability of events that come from behaviors further apart in time. The last one is frequency-based segmentation. We observe that when behaviors get multiplexed together within the same segment, the frequency of device triggering is different for different behaviors. Next, based on these segments, device event label features or behaviors are extracted. Similar segments are clustered into a group, and the features of behaviors are extracted from each group. The feature of a behavior consists of two parts: deterministic attributes and non-deterministic attributes. For a behavior, some attributes may remain unchanged. This attribute is deterministic. That is, it can be found every time a certain behavior takes place. Besides, there are also varying attributes. These attributes are non-deterministic. They represent changes and randomness, while deterministic attributes are a behavior's inherent features. After extracting features of behaviors, the device event stream in the training set is converted into a behavior stream. The behaviors of real smart home users typically follow some pattern, denoted as daily routines. To create credible pattern users and make them different from real users, we need to extract those patterns based on the behavior stream. We consider three main associations among behaviors in a target home. The first is behavior-to-behavior associations. representing relationships between behaviors and their occurrence time. The next one is behavior-to-behavior association. When one behavior takes place, others may follow. For example, eating breakfast after waking up. The last one is temporal relationships among behaviors. Behaviors may occur one after the other, concurrently or interleaved with each other. After obtaining the required information from the target smart home, SniffMislead starts to generate policies that decide how to use a top-down approach to simulate pattern users. We define a behavior pattern as a set of behaviors that describe what a pattern user do in a day. SniffMislead generates dynamic behaviors for pattern users every day. Based on the learned three behavior associations, a behavior of a pattern user along with its time is determined. Pattern users' behaviors patterns are designed to be different from those of real users. Behaviors of pattern users are also designed to be as different from each other and involve as many diverse IoT devices as possible at any given moment. The function of generating a behavior pattern for a pattern user in a day is summarized below. SniffMislead does not have a limit of the number of pattern users to be simulated in a smart home. Intuitively, the accuracy of attackers inferring user behaviors decreases if the number of pattern users increases. SniffMislead itself will automatically find the appropriate number of pattern users. After behavior patterns for pattern users are generated, SniffMislead needs to set the sequence of its behavior's device events. SniffMislead generates device event sequence based on learned device event label features of behaviors. However, behaviors are usually not independent. Previous behaviors may influence the later ones. Therefore, when generating device events for current behavior, information about previous behaviors needs consideration as well. This helps create reasonable device events and enable a more natural transition between two neighboring behaviors. Furthermore, the contextual information in a smart home should be consistent with each other. Hence, simulated decoy events of a device should not cause any conflict among the home users, both real and pattern, in the same smart home setting. To this end, SniffMislead needs to continuously maintain the decoy context of the target smart home, which, from an attacker's perspective, includes both real and pattern users. The decoy home context is generated by combining the real home context with the inference of pattern users' behaviors. The overall workflow of generating device event sequence for a pattern user's behavior pattern is given in the feature. After the device event sequence is generated, SniffMislead injects decoy packets corresponding to each device event. Fields in packet headers transmitted in clear text will be filled with meaningful data and then padded with meaningless payloads to the appropriate length. SniffMislead can be extended to support multiple wireless network protocols that contain packet-level signatures. We configure a smart home in an apartment using commercial IoT devices. SmartThings platform is selected because it is one of the most popular and representative smart home platforms. We use several Zigbee devices because many smart home IoT devices use Zigbee. We employ a commercial off-the-shelf sniffer telespeed dongle and an open source software tool, Killer Bee, to collect Zigbee traffic and inject decoy packets. To evaluate the effectiveness of SniffMislead, we play the role of an attacker. To infer a user behavior, attackers usually perform a two-stage attack, including device event inference and user behavior inference, and we train a random forest classifier and an HMM detector respectively. To defeat the SniffMislead, we also consider a strong assumption of the attacker. He has prior knowledge of the target home and may use it to design rules to discard decoy packets or events. Table 1 shows the evaluation results of inferring some device events. We can find that there are no noticeable differences in the recall precision of F1 score between real and decoy packets, meaning that an attacker would recognize the injected packets as expected device events of real users. Table 2 shows the evaluation results of every 9 typical user behaviors with different numbers of pattern users. As shown in the figure, the average precision of the behavior inference decreases as the number of pattern users increases. When attackers have lots of behavior inferring errors, user privacy is protected. To sum up, SniffMislead is a much more robust solution than straightforward and intuitive methods, such as random event injection. In our experiment, SniffMislead can protect user privacy at birth, device state, and user behavior levels. Based on our evaluation and analysis, the resource overhead to the smart home infrastructure is small and acceptable. And SniffMislead also causes no security violations to the smart home. And according to the feedback from the user involved in our experiment, no noticeable delay was experienced. All the above show that SniffMislead runs in a secure and non-intrusive manner and causes no side effects to the target smart home and the user. All the functions of SniffMislead are only based on the network traffic pattern of the target smart home, have nothing to do with the specific platforms or protocols. With some modifications, SniffMislead can be applied to other smart home platforms and devices using other network protocols. SniffMislead can also be modified to defend against other attackers, such as wine sniffers. One primary limitation of SniffMislead is that an attacker may try to identify injected packets using wireless channel characteristics, for example, RSSI and CSI. Due to the time limit, more details can be found in the paper. I'd like to thank you for taking time out to listen to my presentation. If you have any questions, please feel free. Thanks.